Hello, church, and welcome to our second opportunity to be together, as close together as we can be at this time. Um, I know this is tough, and I am feeling it too, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Um, we're going to talk about why we are doing what we are doing right now, why we are staying apart, and what is at the heart of that. Um, because this has been a tough week. I know it's been tough for a lot of people, and a lot of people a lot harder than I have it. But it's been tough for me because while the week started off with like this feeling of what a great opportunity this is to look at church differently, to bring the community together, to reach out to the people that need it the most and offer ourselves to help in ways we've never considered before. There's a lot of neat opportunities happening there, and I'm sure God is at work in all of that, and that we're called to be a part of that somehow. But what struck me and has been very heavy on me this week is that church is very different now, and it will likely be very different for a long time, and in fact it might never be quite the same. And I think I fully realized this week how dependent I am on public worship, and how touching it is to me, and how energizing it is, and how good it does me, and I hope you, to be together in worship and in fellowship. And it just hit me hard this week that that might never quite look the same. I miss hugs and handshakes. I am a handshaker from way back, and that's gonna change. That has to change. And I like music, and I like singing with people, and praising God in so many different forms with other people. And while yes, we can connect with God, we can pray, we can call each other and pray together, we can look out for each other and do all these things in God's name. That public worship thing is tough, and it's been heavy on me this week. And what I really wanted to share with you today is a couple things that I woke up with this morning. Three things especially. I woke up with the news that our governor has said that it's okay for churches to gather under 50 people. I also woke up this morning with a fever. And I woke up this morning with a scripture in my mind that I want to share with you. And we'll get to that next, but let's talk about those first two things. We are in this highly advised distancing mode right now. We are being asked to be apart from people so that we don't share germs. And I get that. Schools are closed. Everything's different, and I can see the good in that, and I hope that you do too, because it seems like this thing spreads very quickly, and it's very contagious. And so we, the church, have made this choice to stay apart from each other. And here at Stony Creek, we said, at least for these next Sundays in March will continue, but I feel like it's going to end up being longer than that. I think it might take some time for this thing to run its course, and that if we don't let it run its course before we start publicly gathering again, that it won't ever run its course, that it will just keep cycling. And I would rather it be a tough month or 2 or 3 than a tough year or 2 or 3. And so with this news that the governor telling us that we can now again gather, we missed one Sunday. My guess is that she was feeling some pressure from the religious side of politics, and also that maybe there was a little constitutional realization that the state does not in fact have power to tell the church when to and not to meet. And so that's the truth in it, is that we, the church, have power to meet publicly and freedom to do so. And we also have the freedom to elect to not meet in this time. And so even though the state has said, yes, you can keep meeting if you're less than 50 people, then we're not going to do that. We're not going to meet on Sundays until this thing has sufficiently run its course and we are not presenting biological threats to one another, especially our elderly and our fragile, and we certainly have many of those among our congregation. And so that's the first part of it. The second part is I woke up with a fever. That's scary when I've been following all these rules, and I watched 2 of my kids go down with it last night, and I wasn't feeling great. I was achy, and I woke up with a fever, and that's not what I want and not what I want to share. But I'll tell you the truth. A year ago, I probably would have, taken some Tylenol and come to church and avoided contact, but I probably would have still been here. It's hard to find a last minute substitute or to change the whole game plan, and it's especially hard when it's a mild fever and you still feel okay enough to go out. And so that realization that's all it takes, is that even though I've been socially distant now for a week, I picked something up along the way somewhere, and I don't want to share it with you. And so that's what brings me to this realization of what we are doing. That though this is hard, though that this doesn't feel normal, and it may never really feel normal again, a realization of why we're doing what we're doing. And so the verse that I want to share with you today is this. It is from Paul's letter to the Galatians, in chapter 6, verses 9 through 11. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially to those who belong to the family of believers. See what large letters I use as I write you with my own hand. And that's my favorite part of this. I think Paul might have been the first person to send a message in all caps. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially those who belong to the family of believers. Do you see what large letters I use as I write to you with my own hand? Do you think Paul was the first all caps messenger? The message is certainly worth it. It's certainly worth the ink. It's certainly worth exclaiming that we have this opportunity today and for the next however long this takes to do good for all people. Now he goes on this little phrase afterwards, especially to those who belong to the family of believers. I just want to make sure that we understand that isn't to prioritize who we are doing good to. It's not to see two people in need and one belongs to your church and one does not, and so we choose the one that belongs to our church. That's not what this is. This is saying, especially to those who belong to the family of believers, as in, you should be good to all people. You should offer your best and to bring good into the world through all the people you meet. But especially that should be happening in the house of God, in a place where one might come and expect to see people doing good to each other. That is your testimony to the good things God has done in your life. To be good to one another, to love one another well, is our testimony to the work God is doing in the world. It's also proof to the world that the God who has called us to do good is real and alive and hard at work and working in us and through us and around us. If somebody showed up at church and met a whole bunch of people who were jerks to each other, what proof of God would they have? If someone was seeking something holy, if someone was coming to a place because they've had this pull on their heart that has created a want to know something greater and to know something that connects people and brings people together in the name of love, and they came to church and they didn't see that is the anti-testimony. It kills our witness. And so especially to those who belong to the family of believers, that's because this is the place that should be the source of all of those actions. This is the place where love should be exclaimed, and even without words, it should be seen in action. And today, our action is inaction. It is separation. Our best way to possibly share love in this world is to physically remain separated. And as hard as that's been for me, and I imagine for you as well, I hope you'll carry that verse with you through this, that this is our opportunity to do good to all people, that our actions can be seen and felt, and they can testify to the work God is doing in this world. You are deeply loved, my friends, and I am certain that God is in the midst of all of this, and that if we look and pray, we will see the place in this in which we fit, and God's grace in all of this will be revealed to the world. And I hope you know that is the truth of this, that this isn't a curse, this isn't We just had one too many sinners in the world, and now it's time for God to strike down. This is a result of this paradox of life, that we are both strong and weak, and we've been given these amazing, intricate bodies that are so resilient and so powerful and so capable, and yet they are so fragile and weak, and it's an amazing world we live in. It's an amazing life we've been given, and God is capable of doing good in all things. Even when the things to our perception don't seem good, when we start to see God as the one who works within to bring good, we can see the heart of a father, of a creator, of one who is deeply in love with your soul. And as you go from now on, I hope that you carry that with you, that you know how deeply loved you are. Amen.